members of the literary community, all you lovers of books who have joined us this evening in person and virtually. It gives me great joy to welcome each one of you to the shortlist announcement for the JCB Prize for Literature 2023. The resonating echoes of stories fill this space, stories that originate from the heart of our diverse nation, stories that have been birthed in multiple tongues, but converge into one universal language of our human experience. The JCB Prize for Literature celebrates the finest contemporary fiction by Indian writers. The prize recognizes both books written in English and those that have been translated from English into English from Indian languages. It promotes the rich tapestry of Indian storytelling, bridging linguistic boundaries and bringing exceptional narratives to the forefront of the global literary stage. Over the years, our journey at the JCB Prize for Literature has been enriched immensely by the unwavering support of everyone at JCB, our publishers, our dedicated book clubs, the custodians of literature at bookstores, and the vibrant online community that keeps the conversation alive, thriving, and dynamic. Our jury, Srinath Perur, Kaveri Nambasan, Mahesh Datani, Shoma Ghoshal, and Swati Tyagarajan, read, reread, and you have no idea how. But they discussed each book in detail that was submitted to arrive at this shortlist. I can't thank you all enough. I now invite Srinath Perur, our chair of jury, to come up on stage to start with the announcement of the shortlisted books for 2023.
Thank you, Meeta. It's great to be here in Jaipur. So we had a long list of 10 books, and it was not an easy task when we sat down for the shortlisting to eliminate even one of those books, because it turned out that every book on the long list was a strong contender for the shortlist for at least one of the jury members. But we were also fortunate in that in the end, we had exactly 5 books that all 5 of us wanted to see on the shortlist. And that is the shortlist that we are thrilled to be presenting to you today. The first book on this year's shortlist is Firebird by Perumal Murugan, translated from Tamil by Janani Kannan. So Firebird is it's a universal and timeless book that talks about dislocation and finding roots again. And while it is so universal, its telling is also profoundly local. So it's a really fantastic book, and I'm thrilled that it's on our shortlist this year. Now I call on my fellow juror, Kaveri Nambasan, to come up and announce the next 2 books of the shortlist.
I'm delighted to announce the next book on the shortlist is The Secret of More by Tejaswini Apte Ram. This is a quietly told, eloquent story about a family of businessmen in the textile industry in Bombay during the freedom struggle. And it is a deeply felt, very novel with deep sensitivity. The third novel on the shortlist is I Named My Sister Silence by Manoj Rupda. This is a short but explosive novel. It is set in Chhattisgarh about two very young people who join a revolutionary movement. And the heartbreaking after effects of this, it is insightful, heartbreaking, and it's instructive. Thank you. I invite Shomak Ghoshal to come next.
Hi, everyone. So the fourth book on the list is actually The Nemesis by Manoranjan Bapari, translated by V. Ramaswamy. I have to say, as somebody who has read Manoranjan Bapari in Bengali, this is a really masterful translation of a very, very powerful novel. It's a story of gut-wrenching poverty, but immense resilience. I enjoyed every page of it. So congratulations. And the last book on this list is a very special one, which is Mansoor by Vikramajit Ram. Another very short but fantastic novel. It gives historical fiction a run for its money because it's such a cleverly told story with such minimalist prose. I absolutely loved reading it. I'm so pleased that a novel like this is being written and published in this day and age, and very happy to have it on the shortlist. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations and more to all of you who've made it to the shortlist for the JCB Prize for Literature 2023. I invite all the shortlisted authors and translators here with us today to join us on stage. Tejaswini Apteram, Manoranjan Bapari, V. Ramaswamy, Perumal Murugan, Vikramajit Ram, Manoj Rupra, Hansta Sovendra Shekhar. The only one missing is Janani Kannan. She couldn't be here with us today. Jaipur, what's wrong with the energy levels? You've done better than this. Thank you. Request you all to please take your seats. Every narrative we honor this evening reverberates far beyond the pages it is printed on. And just as literature has many forms of expression, so does art. This evening, we have with us Divya Seth Shah, an acclaimed television and film actor, and Vamik Saifi, a multi-talented Urdu poet and storyteller, reading from each of the shortlisted books. Before that, we will begin with the performance of Rag Yaman by Pandit Hariharan Sharan Bhatt Sahib on sitar and Dayam Aliji on sarangi. Our extremely senior, most respected and acclaimed artists from Rajasthan.
I named my sister Silence by Manoj Rupta. Translated into English by Hansada Sovendra Shekhar. On her face, I saw worry. Unlike the sound and even physical expressions of worry from the others, my sister's worry was a silent one. She was trying to understand wordlessly what had happened to me. She kept looking at me for some time and then opened the door of her room. Outside, Yaya had spread garbage all over the kitchen floor. My mother often spread garbage here and there to trouble my sister. She never missed an opportunity to trouble my sister. I never understood the reason for my mother's hatred, but I hated her for her hatred. I never saw in my mother any quality worth emulating. On top of that, the things she did made liking her quite impossible. If I remember right, my mother was plain wicked. That day, my mother was envious of my sister because I had readily gone with her and she had, without saying a word, succeeded in bathing me, while my mother, despite her shouting and crying, wasn't able to draw even a word from me. My mother saw this as another victory for my sister, for she did not like to see her own son spending time with her stepdaughter. She had tried every trick in the book to pull me away from my sister, but in the end my sister always won, because in all my mother's attempts at tearing us apart, there was no love for me. There was only the cruel desire to beat my sister. When my sister was bathing me at the well, I saw Yaya standing at the kitchen window. She ground her teeth and shouted all kinds of obscenities at my sister. My sister ignored her and immediately set about cleaning the kitchen. After cleaning up, she removed the lids from the pots of rice and dal that she had cooked. As soon as the lids were opened, I saw a wave of anger cross my sister's face. Avoiding my sister's gaze, I peered into the pots. Someone had thrown ash from the chula on the rice and 2 dead cockroaches in the dal. My sister seemed to be lost in thought for a while. Then she picked up 1 dead cockroach by its leg and went straight to the room where my mother was lying on a cot with her left hand on her forehead, covering part of her eyes. My sister tapped my mother's hand. Yaya moved her hand from her forehead, and Kako dangled the dead cockroach in front of her eyes. A furious silence lay between my mother and her stepdaughter. Kako then opened her mouth and popped the cockroach in and began chewing it. I had never seen this facet of my sister. I realized that day that my sister was as savage as she was silent.
Mansoor by Vikramjit Ram. Last month, the painter had given Jamal a cloth-bound parcel, sealed with wax to take to the ladies. A fortnight ago, Jamal had taken a different sealed parcel from the ladies to the bindery, and the last week, a parcel sealed in a different way still, from the bindery to the ladies. They had unwrapped it, unminded full of the Jamal's presence, and here they are, poring over the book again. He catches a flash of color in it. Unlettered, he would not know if he tried what else it contains. He may just as well not be present. He clears his throat. What am I to tell the Mansoor? Tell him He will have it in the afternoon, Sahife Bano says, staring at the mirrored wings of tailed marble, arranged unusually across two facing pages with a loose rectangle of vellum between to keep the colors from rubbing. Black, red, white, gray, flecks of copper, copper pink, and copper green. The head and the body are partially lost to the spine. The antennae swirl left and right to merge into two separate couplets, or tomorrow more likely, Sahife Bano says. The atelier, Jamal adds, says with infinite patience, shuts at noon. Tomorrow is my day of rest. The painter leaves on Monday. The thing must be with him today. What do we do? Frets Nadre Bano. She cannot get enough of the verses, as for the painting, the painter had surpassed him. You gave me the thing, Jamal cries. He's waiting. Let him wait, Sahife Bano says. Her calm is frightening even to herself. Tell him, she glances at her companion, tell him to come to the menagerie. That would be best. Tell him to be there after the third prayers today. Yes, tell him that. He will understand. What? Says Nahidre Bano. Yes, go now, child. Why? Gasps Nadre Bano after Jamal leaves. We haven't been in years. You don't have to if you don't want to. Nadre Bano's brow creases. I want to. I know, and I want to see the painter she has long wanted to see, ever since the rarity of the present had added a frame and gold-sprinkled border. All flowers and flycatchers, roosters, kingfishers, and quails to her portrait of Shah Tamas Safwi. She laughs. If not today, then when? I will probably be dead by the time he's back. Nadire Banu claps her hand to her ears. Shh, it bodes. Oh, don't you start again. How may I ask, do you propose to achieve this scene? Sahife Banu sucks in her cheeks, moving her floor desk. She writes out a note to the keeper of the quarter and summons the maidservant. This, to Etbar Khan, she says. Then bring those seamstresses with you, even if you must lead them by their hands. No dawdling, we haven't all day. The maid murmurs, the maid mutters, I will dawdle all I please. That is enough, Nadire Banu cries, rising. Any more, and you will be destitute. Stunned, speechless, the maid flies. The ladies pick up where they left off in their reading. Cho bardaram zi rukh burqa, zi gul faryad bakhir zad. Zanam bar zul fagar shane, zi sunbul dad bakhir zad. Bin husna kamalati chudar gulshan gazar shazam. Zi jane bubul shan shurur e mubarak bad bakhir zad.
Secret of More, a novel by Tejaswini Apte Ram. The White Gateway is only for today. It will be taken down soon. Did you work on the construction? Asked Tatya curiously. A little space, a little space. I'm going to start again. I missed a page. The Secret of More, a novel by Tejaswini Apte Ram. The Shamiana itself was dwarfed by a huge semicircular amphitheater of white and gold, open to the sky adjacent to the Taj Mahal Hotel, with seats and steps of pale green cloth that rose in dozens of tiers to face the sea. The seats were filled with smartly dressed British men and women, as well as a few Indian dignitaries. The Royal Navy Guards were out in full force in blue and white and swords and bayonets at the ready. And there was a regimental band in scarlet and yellow, their brass instruments glinting under the blue morning sky. Look at this, said Dada, in awe. Last time you brought me to Apollo Bandar, none of this was here. They've put up all these pillars and everything. Looks like the king will enter through that gateway. It's all temporary, bhau, said a short man in a brown coat and dhoti, who was in the process of edging his way forward. This white gateway is only for today. It will be taken down soon. Did you work on the construction? Asked Tatya curiously. A little space, the man said in apologetic tones, and disappeared as he squeezed his way through the restive crowd. Tatya barely had time to marvel at the fact that all these elaborate structures were just temporary. But there was the thunderous noise of 3 guns going off, and a cry went up. Someone shouted, "The ship! The king's ship is here!" And others took up the cry and repeated it, so that the news was lightly relayed from Apollo Bandar to Queen's Road in a matter of seconds. Everyone craned their necks in the direction of the water. Several stately warships were marooned by the jetty, festooned with gay fluttering pennants, all decorated with the blue, white and red of the British flag. But no ship could be seen approaching the shore, though Tatya, Dada and the boys squinted hard at the horizon. "Nothing," said Dada, finally still gazing at the open sea. "They are not here yet. So why did they set off the guns?" asked Mandar. But he was drowned out by a huge cheer, and Sharad, who was perched on Tatya's shoulders, yelled and pointed at a distant smudge of smoke that could as well have been a low-hanging wisp of cloud. It was no cloud, though, and what was rapidly approaching the shores of Bombay was the HMS Medina, escorted by 4 enormous cruisers, which followed in its trail in perfect formation. It was another hour and a half till the Medina appeared to halt its progress and drop anchor, and all the warships gave a thunderous salute to gunfire to signal that the royal journey had been completed. The king was now in India.
The Nemesis by Manoranjan Vyapari, translated by V. Ramaswamy. The customers had begun to arrive now. There was some festival or the other in the sweeper's neighborhood. A pig had been slaughtered in the afternoon. Its meat was being cooked in a large vat. The liquor den was also getting crowded. Nanu was keeping a watch on that, so that nothing untoward happened. Babua was usually quiet, cheerful, but for some reason he was very grave today. He had not said a single word for almost half an hour. After a while, he suddenly said, "Let's say I die. Let's say a bullet hits me on the chest. After all, every day someone or the other, known or unknown, dies like that. There's no certainty that I won't die the same way today or tomorrow." Nanu responded, "None of us has the certainty." That's what I'm saying. Let's say I got a 303 on my chest. What will happen then? What else will happen? You will die, Gibbon said abruptly. All these days, no one knew of your existence, but your name will appear in every newspaper now. Everybody will know that there was a boy named Babua, a scoundrel. He was shot to death. Good folks die of starvation, while scoundrels are shot to death. Babua said, "That's not what I'm talking about. Whether my name appears in the newspaper or not, or whether or not there is a condolence meeting or martyrs memorial, what good is all that to me? After all, my life would be over." Gibbon said, "What's the use of thinking about that now? Whatever had to happen has already happened. It would not have been better to think about all that before entering this line of work? Why did you enter? Did I enter on my own? I was made to enter this line. Who made you enter this? Whose name shall I say? I should blame my fate? That's what brought me here?" Babua was quiet for a while. Then he said, "I don't believe there's anything called fate." Gibbon said ruminatively, "A lot of educated people like you say that, but I think there's certainly something called fate. It's simply about a sequence of event. One thing happens, so the next happens. Unless the first event occurred, there would be no reason for the next one to occur. One incident that pushes you into the next incident, that's fate." Chewing mouthful of moody, Gibbon continued, "So I have entered this line. Fate made me enter it. I'm not sad about that anymore. In the same way, I was born and grew up in a manner whereby nothing good could have resulted. I can't tell you how much oppression I've suffered at the hands of people, but at least now I know that no one else can oppress me and get away with it. If I have to die for that, let that be so. It's better to die like that than to die little by little every day, getting beaten up by people."
Firebird by Perumal Murugan, translated from Tamil by Janani Kannan. After Peruma managed to narrate everything between tears and whimpers, she leaned on his chest and let out an unsortable loud bawl. Muthu didn't notice anybody else around them. He held her in a tight hug, patting and stroking her back. No words were going to mean anything. He too felt like crying. With a lot of effort, he controlled himself. A faraway place with no relatives close by will do just fine. Even if it is so remote a land that even lizards don't live there. If we have to live on one meal of porridge a day, my children and I will live contented. Don't ever think I will come back to that place in my lifetime. If you insist on it, you will only see my corpse, she cried. Muthu did not expect his eldest brother to stoop so low. He had imagined that a tiny bit of the love from his childhood remained hidden somewhere deep in that heart of stone. He had hoped that the brothers would get back together. He didn't care that he couldn't live in that village anymore. He wanted to smash his elder brother's head and demand answers from his parents. I cannot ignore this. I will go back and settle this once and for all, he said and got up. Peruma rushed towards him and blocked him. Everything is over. From now on, there will be no bond and relation between us and them ever. They will say the same thing to you too. Your mother called me an Alantapacchi. So be it. From now on, none of them will come anywhere near us. They said many more things. Being a woman, I stayed quiet. If you lose your temper and your actions lead to something unpleasant, what will happen to my children and me? Don't pick a fight. Focus on finding a buyer for what we have and sell everything. We will go somewhere and start over. Once they have decided to chase us out, they will do anything to achieve that. He has nothing to lose. His children are grown. He has snatched the bulk of the lands. What leverage do we have? Tell me, she said. Muthu stopped, bound by her words. They sent Peruma's father and brother to the village. With Pongiyanan's help, they would get as many things done as possible. Peruma may find the village and its land bitter. She was, after all, transplanted there. But it was not the same for him. He had germinated on that soil and was rooted there. 30 years of memory lay buried in him. He lay down on the cement floor of his father-in-law's house and remained that way for a long time.
हरिहर भट्ट साहिब जी, दयाम अली जी, आप दोनों का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. Divya and Vamik, I thank you both from the bottom of my heart for bringing the stories alive, and I'm sure our audiences here will be compelled to read the shortlisted books for this year. As we stand at the threshold of another celebration of literature's finest, I express my deepest appreciation to every individual who has contributed in measures big and small to make this event happen. My gratitude. Until next time, may our lives be as vivid as the tales we treasure, and may our hearts remain ever open to the boundless possibilities every page turned presents. Thank you, and make sure you go to the bookstore straight from here. But before that, I invite you all to please join us for high tea, and before you leave, we have a goodie bag for each one of you for having joined us this evening. Thank you so much.